It was an inexplicable about-turn from the US president, who charged that China's earlier retaliation of an 84% levy on US goods was disrespecting world markets. President Trump raising an already 104% levy to 125%, effective immediately. But in a reprieve for some countries and blocs, including the EU and South Africa, the US will now implement a 90-day pause and a universal levy of only 10% instead. The White House has indicated that more than 70 countries have expressed a desire to negotiate with the US and find bilateral solutions.
You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China, when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business. And as the president has shown great courage, as the secretary has said, in choosing to retaliate against China even higher.
Markets have rallied on the news, moving momentously into positive territory after days of losses amid fears a US recession was looming. Likely a major element factored into the unexpected backtrack from the White House.
President Trump created maximum negotiating leverage for himself, and which tariffs went into effect 15 hours ago. The ones that we have lowered went into effect a week ago. They were announced a week ago, and we have just been overwhelmed by the response from mostly our allies who want to come and negotiate in good faith. So we are expecting them to come with their best deal. As I said a week ago today, don't retaliate, hold your ground, let's see what happens. And China, they kept escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
Earlier, the UN Secretary General warned against the detrimental effects of a trade war.
I've been clarifying my position about this issue time and time again. Trade wars are extremely negative. Nobody wins with a trade war. Everybody tends to lose. And I'm particularly worried with the most vulnerable developing countries, in which the impact will be more devastating. I sincerely hope that we will have no recession, because a recession will have dramatic consequences, especially for the poorest people in the world.
It's unclear how countries will respond, including the EU bloc that earlier announced a range of retaliatory duties on around $23 billion of US imports, ranging from 10 to 25%, after the US imposed a 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminium and a blanket 20% tariff on all other EU exports to the United States.
Things are simple. France and Europe have never wished for chaos or higher tariffs. We think it's a bad idea and a poor response to the trade deficit. We've also always said that we defend our economy. So if there are tariffs and they're at 20%, we will respond. But we believe that today's priorities lie elsewhere, that if we want to do more business, gain more market share, we have to be more competitive. We have to continue the reforms, the work. We have to invest in innovation and succeed in these paths rather than impose tariffs. And so we want to see a reduction in tariffs.
So, a reprieve for most, but certainly not for China, that now faces a staggering 125% tariff on all its exports to the United States. China has already indicated it would not back down, that it was willing to fight to the end, and had already filed a dispute at the World Trade Organization against the United States. The question now is, how will China respond? And for others, what sort of bilateral deal will they offer the United States in lieu of a favorable tariff rate for their goods into the world's largest economy? Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.